I got two phones, one for the plug and one for the load. I got two phones, one for the bitches and one for the dog. Think I need two more. Line popping, I'm ring. Count money while it ring. Trap jumping, I'm ring. Phones, one for the plug.
What's going on YouTube? FitnessKensho here, and today I got more of another informative video for you guys. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this informative video is because I got a new client today, and I'm pretty much telling her like what calories to stick to, and then I explained to her how many macronutrients, like as far as what grams I want her to hit. And after I finished, and I told her, explain to her how many grams I want for carbs, how many grams I want for fat, and the same thing for her protein, she asked me, what's a carb, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a question that a lot of people don't even know the answer to. So that's the purpose of why I'm making this video. I want to make a breakdown as far as what I consider to be good carbs, what I consider to be bad carbs, the same thing for proteins, same thing for fats. So I'll start off with fats, honestly. So pretty much, let's say you have a trainer or a coach, and he tells you to stick around 60 to 70 grams of fat. For the most part, you'll get at least half of the fat requirement, depending on how lean or how fatty your proteins are. Let's say you're going really lean with your proteins, you'll get at least 30 grams just from your lean proteins and possibly your carbs that you're actually eating, because there's always fat in everything. There's fat in almost everything, right? So that thing will just accumulate as you keep eating throughout the day. So one thing that I would suggest to my clients as far as what fats to add into their diet, if they need to add like maybe let's say 30 more grams for the day, is obviously you want something that is not saturated fat and trans fat. Saturated fat will only clog your arteries. You typically get that from like fried foods or really fatty proteins. And then trans fat is obviously when you have liquid fat turn into a solid, and that's when it turns into trans fat. So you want to stay away from both of those. Saturated fat and trans fat, those are the bad ones. Now mono and polyunsaturated are the ones that you want to stick to. And you can find those in obviously olive oil, peanut butter. I would suggest try to stick to the natural peanut butter, just because it has very little sugar compared to all the sweet peanut butters, especially like the honey peanut butter or something like that. I know it tastes delicious, but it does have a lot of sugar that you may not want in your diet just because it's going to accumulate with the carbs. So I would say go with the most natural form of peanut butter. And then you have avocado as well, which is another good source of fats. Olives is another one, but you may need to eat a lot of olives in order to get to your fat content. So, and then any type of peanuts, such as, obviously peanuts, hence peanut butter. Then you have almonds, walnuts, cashews as well have that good fat that you would want. So that's where I will stick to when it comes to fats. Now let's move over to proteins. Now when it comes to protein, I always say, the leanest is the best. And when someone always says, oh, like let's say when people get complimented, hey, you look very lean, what that means is that, you have very little body fat. So you want a lean protein that has very little fat. When it comes to chicken, you have the chicken breast, that is like the leanest part of the chicken. The second leanest would be the chicken thighs. So let's say you can't afford chicken breasts. Well, chicken breasts are pretty cheap, but let's say you can't afford it for whatever reason. Your second next option, if you do like chicken, will be chicken thighs. And then obviously you have your ground beef. The least amount of fat is the best. You have ground turkey, the least amount of fat is best. You have salmon, which obviously has the good fat that your body does need, and is a good sort of protein in your omega-3s. So salmon is a good one. Tilapia is also another one. If you are a vegetarian, obviously tofu will be a good substitute. But if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, and you don't get a lot of your sources from animal products, then I would suggest definitely investing in some type of a supplements, because chances are it's going to be, I'm not saying that it's impossible, because I'm not bashing the vegan lifestyle or anything like that, but it is very tough to get the amount of protein that you need, because most of your protein comes from plant bases that do have carbs as well. So in my opinion, the carbs to protein ratio will always be a little bit high. The carbs will be always a little bit higher than protein. And especially when you're trying to lose weight, carbs needs to be monitored, because you don't want to overeat on the carbs. So definitely investing in some type of protein supplement will be the best. And then obviously, as I mentioned, the proteins that will be the worst will be anytime that's any proteins that are real fatty. So obviously you have ribs that are real fatty. Pork. I mean, there are parts of pork that are a little bit lean. I don't know specific which ones, because I don't eat pork myself, and if I do, it's very, very rare. But most parts of pork are fatty, and as well, steak has some fat as well. But you do get some type of good creatine from your red meat from steak. But in my opinion, your go-to lean proteins, obviously, if you're not a vegan or a vegetarian, you got your chicken breast, lean ground beef, lean is the best, and lean ground turkey and salmon. Those are like my 4 go-to when it comes to lean proteins. Now the tricky part, let's go to your carbs. Now carbs, in my opinion, I like to stick to things that grow naturally in the ground. So when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about rice, I'm thinking about sweet potatoes, I'm thinking about quinoa, and I'll throw pasta in there just because I don't think pasta is bad for you. I just think it needs to be monitored, and you gotta eat it in moderation. So they have a lot of pastas now. Like they have protein pasta, they have the whole grain pasta that have a lot of nutrients. But for the most part, I stick to stuff that grows naturally in the ground. Now, sweet potato, I think, is a superfood just because it does have a lot of fiber in it. It has a lot of vitamins and a lot of other macronutrients that you wouldn't find otherwise in other carbohydrates. So sweet potato is a great source, just because when you are looking for carbs, you want something that is high in fiber, just because that's going to make you fuller longer, or stay fuller longer. A lot of things happen when you start dieting, is that you want to try to eat like in a deficit, or eat, restrict yourself from certain foods that are going to actually ruin your goals, but you don't want to just eat stuff that you don't like, or you don't want to be hungry throughout the entire day. So definitely going for a good source of fiber when it comes to carbohydrates is going to be your best bet. As far as rice, you have white rice, you have brown rice. Obviously the difference between white rice and brown rice is you have a difference in the glycemic index. So white rice absorbs a little bit quicker than brown rice. It's not that big of a difference, but brown rice, technically, studies have proved that it does have a lower glycemic index just because of the fiber intake. It does digest a little bit slower, hence that's why it's gonna have you remain fuller longer. And then quinoa is another one that has carbs and protein. So if you're looking for obviously carbs that do have protein, just to get a little bit more added, if you don't, let's say you don't get it all from your meat sources and you don't have money for supplements, and try to get carbs that do have added protein in the nutrition value of those carbs. Another carb I forgot to mention was oatmeal. Oatmeal is great. I would say stay away from the instant oatmeal. If you want, do steel cut oats, just because that one's a little bit better for you versus like the instant stuff. They put a lot of processed stuff in order to make those oats remain good for a long period of time. So steel cut oats would be, I would say, the best in your opinion. They'll be the natural kind too. I know it takes a little bit longer to cook, but it'll be your best bet as far as staying away from as much processed stuff. One thing that I forgot to mention as far as your proteins, obviously eggs are good. I would not try to monitor not to eat a lot of whole eggs though. So in my opinion, what I like to do is like, let's say if there is a day that I'm gonna eat eggs, I would do only 1 egg, and then I'll put like at least 4 to 6 egg whites mixed with 1 egg. So there I can get my cholesterol that I need for the day from that 1 egg. Still get a little bit of fat, but I don't get a ton of fat, because imagine eating 6 eggs. You do go over the recommended daily intake for cholesterol, and you may even go over your fat eating 6 eggs. So that's why you have to substitute it with egg whites, because egg whites are obviously have no fat, because you pretty much take out the yolk, and that's where the egg, where the fat is. You do shrink down the protein slightly, but at the end of the day, you don't really lose as much protein value. You still get about 5 grams of protein per egg white, and I think an entire egg gives you like about 6 to 7, if I'm not mistaken. So the protein difference is not that bad. Yeah, it adds up, but it's better than eating, you know, about 30 to 40 grams of fat off of like 6 eggs, you know. So that's the benefit of having those egg whites. Now, I hope that video helped a lot of you guys, because again, this is something that I get asked a lot. Like, you know, even like my friends, when they text me and they ask me like, hey, you know, what should I stick to when I'm like meal prepping and stuff like that? And again, I stick to the foods that I've mentioned, because those are the things that work for me. I mean, there are other foods out there too. I'm not saying that they're all bad. It's just, as far as, you know, you got to find what works for you, and those are the foods that I've seen that, you know, 1, control my appetite. 2, my foods are not boring, because if your food is boring, you're not going to want to diet. What's the point of like eating food if you're not going to actually enjoy it? So stick to foods that you're actually going to enjoy, so that you don't give up on your diet. And also, they have great nutritional value that benefit you as far as reaching your goals. One of the main reasons that I made this video is because, you know, when people get told to stick to this amount of calories, it doesn't mean go eat Pop-Tarts, go eat a burger, eat ice cream, and as long as you stay around that calorie, you should be good. I'm a firm believer that the better quality your calories are, the better your results will be in the gym. So it's better to stick to like the best quality of calories in order to get the best amount of goals. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. I definitely got a ton of other topics that I want to get to you guys in the near future. Comment below if I did miss maybe any type of foods that would work for you guys, whether it be carb, fat, or protein. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.